Good afternoon. SaskCanola partners with many national and provincial initiatives, as well as many crop commodity groups, to fund research for the benefit of 20,000 canola growers in Saskatchewan. And today I just want to give a brief highlight of two recently completed projects that will benefit the canola industry and agriculture in the near future. So the first project is from Heath and Nicholas Larkin, entitled Integration of the Highly Effective Brassica Blackleg Resistance Gene RLM11 into Brassica napus. So incidence and severity of blackleg have been increasing in Western Canada over the last decade as producers have been pushing tighter rotations, and evolving blackleg populations have been starting to break down current major gene resistance in some fields. In combination with longer crop rotations, gene-for-gene interactions between pathogen virulence genes and their matching Brassica major resistance genes are still one of the most cost-effective ways to protect against yield losses. The Brassica RLM11 gene is highly effective against blackleg races that contain the RLM11 virulence gene. And over this project, the RLM11 gene was successfully mapped within chromosome A7. CASP markers were developed, and RLM11 was integrated into elite Brassica napus germplasm. Currently, RLM11 is detectable in 95% of blackleg field populations that are isolated and tested in Western Canada. So therefore, it's highly desirable to breed RLM11 into new canola varieties in the near future. And continually developing more R gene rotation choices for canola farmers will allow us to keep ahead of the pathogen and ensure that we don't see major yield losses like we did in the 1980s and 90s. This important work will be published soon, and breeders, agronomists, and researchers are encouraged to contact Hussein Borhan at AAFC Saskatoon to discuss how to access the trait. And while we're talking about blackleg, I encourage you to use the link on the Canola Week homepage to register for the CPS Blackleg Workshop on Friday to learn about other blackleg research going on in Canada and around the world. The second project I'd like to talk about is Greg Penner's Comparing Protein Source and Frequency of Supplementation of Forage Intake, Competitive Feeding Interactions, and Nutrient Utilization for Beef Cattle Fed Low-Quality Forages. And this work was carried out at the U of S. So, cows require 7 to 9% crude protein in their diets during pregnancy, and this rises to the need for 11% crude protein in the diet after calving. But mature forage is often at 8% or less crude protein, and feeding on stubble in the fall and winter can be as low as 4 to 7%. So clearly, some protein supplementation of lower quality forage is beneficial. This project looked to compare two pelleted protein sources, so either low oil dry distilled grains or canola meal, and the effect of supplementation on growth rate, forage intake, supplement intake, rumen fermentation, and competitive feeding behavior in beef cattle. And as well, to increase real-world efficiency and adoption of supplementation by beef producers, the idea of providing supplements either daily versus every other day was compared. So the same amount of total crude protein was provided each week by either feeding strategy. Protein supplementation, whether distilled grains or canola meal, was correlated with higher dry matter intake of forage and triple the average daily gain in body weight. And further comparing results of canola meal versus dry distilled grains, canola meal has a higher percentage protein, so cattle had to consume a larger amount of the dry distilled grains to get the same benefit. And so taking this into account, canola meal can be a cost-effective alternative. And at the same time, canola meal crude protein was more rumen degradable, which can lead to even higher average daily gains. So the frequency of supplementation, either daily or alternating days, did not affect feed intake or rumen fermentation quality factors. But alternate day feeding of supplements did increase the competitive feeding behavior in pens. So with the future expansion of canola crushing capacity in Saskatchewan, there will be an abundance of canola meal on the prairies. An extension and adoption for using more canola meal at home will bring more value for canola meal and improve the bottom line for cattle producers and canola growers. And despite the knowledge that crude protein supplementation is important, it's still not a widely adopted practice in Saskatchewan. And so recently, the Saskatchewan Stock Growers Association was successful in getting an Adopt project awarded, and that'll demonstrate the benefits of supplementing with canola meal as a protein source in the fall and the winter. And they're studying heifers and cow-calf pairs and the economics of per unit gain of body mass. Thanks.